Welcome guys to another episode of Trade Breakdown. So today's episode is going to be a bit different because I'm going to be reviewing how I passed my 100k Fiverr account. Right. So before we start, I just want to wish everyone a happy new year, and hopefully we are getting into this new year with more energy, and we're going to hit more TPs and achieve our trading goals. Right. So we're just going to go straight into the video, and I'm going to be taking you through the trades I took and how I was able to pass my 100k Fiverr account in 1 week, right? So basically 5 trading days, right? So before we get into the technicals of this, you can see clearly my account which I've already hit the target, right? So firstly, Fiverr, they have two objectives, right? The first one is to hit 8% and the second one is to hit 5%. And of 100k, you're supposed, the highest stake account, you're supposed to hit 8%, which is $8,000, which is what I did. And your daily loss as usual is $5,000, right? So when you have 3 profitable days, these 3 profitable days means you need to make at least 0.5% of your account. So if you're trading an account of $100, you need to have made at least $500 in one day, right, for 3 days. So this is just to ensure that people don't over risk on trying to price account in 1 day, so you tend to maintain your risk consistently, right? You can also see the email I received when I passed the account. You can see congratulations, you've passed, congratulations on making your milestone target, on to the next one, right? And I received my credentials for the second phase account, right? So welcome to your account is ready, right? This tells me that my second account is ready. So let's get into the technicals of these trades I took, right? So as you can see, if you notice, if you're on my Telegram, which if you are not part of it, check the link in the bio and try to join, right? I trade just 2 pairs, which is GBP JPY and XAU USD, which is gold, right? And this is to make sure that I don't kind of like look at many pairs to trying to overtrade. So if I don't have a setup on gold, I will check on GJ. If I don't have a setup on GJ, I check on gold respectively, right? So yeah, we're going to be looking at the setup, some of the setups I took and how I went about taking these particular setups, right? So let's start with gold, which you're going to see the trades I took on gold, and I share all these trades on my Telegram, right? So if you're not part of this Telegram community, please do pause this video and join, then come back. You can see the result from the Telegram community. Even though this is the lifetime access, I still forward this trade to my free channel, right? So you can see the trade we took on GJ. So this was the setup I called on GJ. You can see before the trade was called, this was the setup on GJ, and we're running profit, and this is how we end up with this particular trade, right? So you run all the way to TP, right? So, and this was the setup on gold, right? So how I set my signal is I set my signal with the chart markups, right? So you try to understand how I went about taking this trade. I don't just tell you buy here, sell here without giving you an understanding of the signal I'm selling. That's because I don't want people to depend so much on the signals. At least they need to understand what the chart is saying. So I will tell you buy gold at this price, your setup at this, and I send the chart for you to understand that. And you can see when we got tapped in this particular trade, and we already running almost 1 to 2 in this particular trade. You also see the screenshot of how I took the trade personally, right? And this was another setup we had on GG again, second setup. So you can see trading just 2 pairs, you will never lack a setup, right? This was the second setup on GG, which you're still going to see on my chart on trading view, right? So, and GG didn't take up to how many minutes, we ran straight into TP on GG, right? So it didn't take up to 30 minutes on that particular trade. And yeah, this was still the GG trade, and at the end this was gold, right? Gold also smashed TP, right? So these are just some of the trades we took this week, right? There are a lot more, but I'm just showing you, I'm just going to show some of these. These are some of the trades we took. And yeah, let's look at gold, and let me give you a breakdown on how I take these trades basically, right? So let me refresh this thing. So while it is refreshing, one advice I'm just going to give is, right, stick to the pairs you're trading, right? Don't try to trade so many pairs at the same time. I agree there are some people who are able to trade 15 pairs, 20 pairs at the same time. Look at it. But you feel like you those things become so overwhelming for you, you try to reduce it to a certain number where you can master the movement. For example, I kind of master the way gold moves, like in the morning, London session, and in New York session, right? But now I trade just one session, one session, one way of trading. So if I get up in the morning, I look at gold. There are some certain things I'm looking forward to see, right? Once I see that happen during London session, I trade, and I have noticed that I have a high win rate during London session than during New York session. Once you've understood these things about yourself, it kind of make you not to over trade, right? You know, okay, if you don't get a setup during London session, you have to wait for the next day, right? So I trade opening of London session. Once I see my setup there, and I take it, and I have a risk reward of 1:2, 1:3. Once I hit that target, I'm done for the day, right? Any trade I took during New York session, I'm likely to lose that trade, right? Once I've really understood this about myself for the past 2 years, so I just try to stick as much as possible during London session. If you're on this Telegram channel I just shared, you will notice that I trade mostly the London session, right? So without further ado, we'll just go straight into this. I don't know why the network is stepping. So let's move straight into the technicals now, right? So I'm going to be sharing a few trades I took, right, to break down the trade for you guys, right? So firstly, you see this is the setup we had, right? This setup, I'm not going to be talking about this particular setup, right? These are the trades basically I've been taking, right? So I'll say again, one session, one method of trading, right? Do not overmix yourself trying to do for multiple pairs, trying to do for multiple strategies, trying to mix so many things, right? This is another setup we missed, right? And this trade ended up going right into TP, right? Now I'm going to talk about this particular one, which I also shared, right? And I took this trade, right? So you're going to see the screenshot on the side, right, on this particular trade, right? Now, so how did I know about this particular trade, and what made me to take this particular trade you're seeing here right now, right? So I'm going to be explaining to you how I took this trade. So firstly, you can see that the execution was done on the 5 minute, right? But if you go to the 1 hour, right, you kind of see that I don't want to go to too much of a higher time frame to bore you guys, right? Because you already know gold is bullish, right? So I knew gold was really bullish on the 1 hour time frame, on the higher time frame, right? Now I simply look at support and resistance, breakout and retest, and when it comes to my zone, that is where I kind of refine to get my entries, right? So I was looking at structure here, right, which is the most important thing of my strategy. I was looking at structure here. You can clearly see that we are creating what, higher highs and then higher lows, right? So having seen the structure already to be in an uptrend here, what I was simply waiting for was for price to break above this particular level here, right? Was for price to break above this particular resistance here. Now what is the resistance? It's a significant point where price has failed to break above multiple times, right? You can see clearly how price came rejected here on the 1 hour, going back below, and I was just waiting for price to break above this particular resistance. Now when we had a breakout of the resistance, what you are waiting for is a retest, right? What you're simply waiting for is a retest. So what I mean is, if you're a beginner, if you're trading, or an intermediary, so this, let's say this is a resistance point, price breaks above this resistance, right? There is a high probability price is going to come back into this particular zone where it broke out from, and which is what we call the retest, and then you take in your entries, right? So this is what I look out for most of the time. So during London session, I wait for that initial breakout of the resistance, and I wait for price to come back to where it broke out from, right? And I use Fibonacci a lot, and when price gets there, you're going to see I now take my entries. Now this is a simple concept you can apply to your trading. Just follow the same pattern and you're going to be fine. Don't try to add a lot of things, right? So break out and you wait for the retest, you get your confirmation, and then you go in. What most traders always try to, what make people to fear is that once price has broken out, they start seeing price shooting to the upside. They are scared and they want to just go in impulsively at any point, right? You would have gone impulsively if you anticipated the breakout already, right? But now the breakout has happened, there is no need to be scared. Price will always retreat. Remember, price move, impulse, correction, right? So when price comes to correct, you enter at the correction, right? After the correction is completed, you take your entries and then you go to the upside. Avoid entry when price is actually breaking out already, right? Impulsively, right? Except you're willing to take that risk, right? Now when price retraces with the correction, what are you looking for? Another question is, when can I get in, right? That is when your knowledge of Fibonacci have to come in, and my key Fibonacci zone which I've used will come in. Remember, when price is moving here, it is moving to a premium zone, and you don't want to buy at a premium zone. You want to buy at the most discounted price, right? Every trader wants to buy at what the most discounted price. So you wait for price to come at a discounted zone for you to be able to take your entry, which is what I'm going to be explaining here. All right, so now when we had this breakout, I knew for the fact that price was going to come down, right? So after I saw the breakout on this one clearly showing, now go back to my lower time frame, which is kind of a top-down analysis, which I'll call. I'll simply take my Fibonacci, right? Looking at the most recent low that was caused before this breakout happened. Price came back to it there. So you just take your Fibonacci, you put it at the low and the high, right? So the high would have been this one, right? Now you see clearly how price reacted. Price came from here where we have the high and we have the low, right? A, B, and C. You're looking for your entries now here. Now when price now came to retest this particular breakout we had here, right? Now you use Fibonacci. Now Fibonacci helps us to measure the retracements and see possible turning points we could have in the markets, right? So you're looking at key zones like 61 and 71.9%. My key entry zone is 71.9%, right? I use 71.9%, which is this one, right? And now so let's look at GG, right? Let's look at GG, which is one of my most beautiful pairs to trade, right? One of my favorite as well, because I trade just two pairs, so they are my two favorites, right? So let's look at GG and you see the setup we got on GG, right? GG has been amazing. It has been on a downtrend, right? I'm sure you guys saw this setup, right? You saw this setup and you also saw this other setup, right? The same psychology I used, the same methodology of trading I used here, right? Nothing much, right? Now GG has been moving in a downtrend. The first thing about my strategy is that I use structure a lot, right? It depends mostly on structure. Once you are able to identify that you are in a downtrend like this, right? The next thing is that once I see a break of structure and after this impulsive move, I know there is a correction. Immediately as this correction is happening, I just put my Fibonacci from a low to a lower low, and I'm targeting these regions here, right? These are the regions I'm targeting. Immediately as price gets here, I get my confirmation and I go in. That is simply the strategy, right? Structure, breakout, retest into a discounted area, and I sell, right? Now here I'm selling at a premium area and I buy at a discounted area, right? So I believe when price gets to 71.9, it is premium, right? Not it getting to 100, right? And my stop loss is going to be above the 100% level. So agreeing that I'm wrong if price goes above that, right? So that is basically it, right? So this is what happened here on GG. We had price move, created this low, created this break of structure, and then what you simply do is that you take your Fibonacci, you put it here, and you simply just put this thing like this. So let's put here, good, right? So for this particular move, right, so you see how price came and reacted at a 50% level in this case, right? So now this is something you need to be adaptable to strategy. I need to look at what price action, when price is approaching your zone, look at how price is behaving at that particular zone. Look at how price is behaving at those key Fibonacci zones, right? Should you take a trade there and should you not take a trade there, right? You have to be able to see how price is approaching. So when price was approaching, I was looking at the extension, how the candlesticks are behaving, how they are playing. I started seeing rejection already happening at the 51% Fibonacci zone. I started seeing rejections there, right? But I think this entry was taken on the 5 minute rather, right? It was on the 5 minutes, right? So I'm going to remove this Fibonacci here. So let's see, right? Yeah, it was taken on the 5 minute. Good. Yeah, it was taken on the 5 minute here. Good. Yes, exactly. So it was taken on the 5 minute here, right? I already knew this was my 50% zone I was expecting, right? The zone I was expecting to sell from, right? So when price came now, reacted here, started rejecting, right? Immediately I saw this confirmation, this candlestick confirmation here, this bearish pressure setting in, right? After this pin bar and this, it gave me already a confirmation to go in for my entry. Then I took my entry here. Then targeting this trade was simple 1 to 2, 1 can I close it at around 2000 something. We're going to see the screenshot on the side, right? All these trades I'm sharing are the trades I personally took, right? And knowing when to exit is also one important thing, right? Don't stay in a trade for too long and be so greedy about it, right? So this was that about this particular trade. The next setup was this one, which was one of most simplest setup, right? So again, you're waiting for what? Price to what? Breakout. You wait for the retest and you go in. What made this last setup really beautiful was that on this particular setup we had a trend line kind of confirmation, right? First touch, second touch, third touch, breakout, retest, right? So I applied the knowledge of trend line here again, but I still made use of my Fibonacci, right? Because I use that a lot. So for my Fibonacci here, I simply place my Fibonacci here and then my 0% here. So this is a low, this is a high, this was a breakout we had here, right? So when we had this, price put all the way to 71.9 at 71.9 and 79%. I had already called the order on Telegram, right? So you can see the screenshot at the site as well. Immediately as price got into this particular zone, right? The next thing is that you just going for your entry on the lower time frame, right? So now understanding again of the lower time frames, right? Understanding of candlesticks pattern, understanding of how the chart is behaving, right? So this is how I was able to actually pass my phase 1 on Forex, right, which is one of the best firms. So if you were interested in seeing how I'm going to be trading phase 2, feel free to join the Telegram community, which I'm going to put the link in the bio, right? I saw